Imagine a place where every god fears being named by mistake. A realm where the moment you slip across its border, light vanishes as if it never existed. There is no roar of victory there, no music of feasts, no glory to show off to the world. Only rivers black and thick, like humanity's buried shame. Colossal gates that slam shut behind you like a sentence. And a throne sunk so deep that even a sigh sounds as if it rises from the bottom of the earth. On that throne sits a king who does not need conquest to be feared, does not need thunder to command, does not need radiance to be worshipped. He needs only one thing, the truth that no one escapes his kingdom. And because of that, the greatest and most ruthless question is also the one the ancient Greeks once whispered in the dark. A being who holds absolute power over death. Is he the happiest of all, or the loneliest? Hades, the lord of the underworld, hated, misunderstood, and perhaps cursed by the very role he was forced to carry. People often tell Greek mythology like a dazzling banquet, full of laughter, tangled love affairs, and blazing rivalries on the heights of Olympus. Zeus hurls lightning, Poseidon churns the sea, Apollo burns like the sun. Aphrodite turns the whole world upside down. But there is one name rarely spoken in the light, not because he is weak, but because he stands too close to what everyone wants to forget. Hades does not stroll through marketplaces, does not descend into open plains, does not appear in statues set in public squares. He is below, remembered only when loss comes knocking. In many stories, people even avoid speaking his name directly, as if the name itself could drag a shadow closer. If we return to the beginning, Hades was not born to be a demon. He was one of the three most powerful brothers in the cosmos after the war that overthrew the Titans. Kronos, who swallowed his own children out of fear of being replaced, created a strange tragedy. Children raised in the darkness of terror, carrying both power and wounds in the same body. When Zeus freed his siblings from their father's belly and rose in rebellion, the universe shuddered through a long war, where heaven and earth were torn by the roar of gods and titans. When victory finally came, the world had to be divided. And this was the fateful moment that bent Hades' life onto a different path. The three brothers drew lots. Zeus received the sky, Poseidon the sea, and Hades received the deepest, darkest, heaviest share of all, the realm of the dead. Drawing lots sounds fair, but there are kinds of fairness that are really a sentence. Zeus, with the sky, can be seen, can be praised. Poseidon, with the sea, can be worshipped by sailors, fishermen, and anyone praying for luck. But Hades rules a place no one wants to go, and a place no one can love in any ordinary way. Imagine being given a kingdom whose citizens are souls with no voice, no future, only memories and waiting. You have power, yet that power brings no joy, only order to what the living call an ending. Hades' realm is not a hell of eternal punishment, the way many modern people imagine. It is an ecosystem of death. There are the pale asphodel meadows, where ordinary souls drift like fog. There is Elysium, where heroes or the worthy rest in gentle light. And there is Tartarus, the abyss where the truly monstrous are imprisoned under strict torment. Hades is king of it all, but he is not a sadistic torturer. He is more like the ultimate administrator of law, where each soul is placed exactly where it belongs. A king of final order, where every illusion is stripped away, and each person is reduced to what they truly are. Hades is often linked to the helm of darkness, a treasure forged by the Cyclopes, which makes its wearer vanish from every eye. It is almost the perfect symbol of his role. Hades has the power to be unseen, not because he wants to hide, but because he is forced to dwell where no one wants to look. And the more he is avoided, the more he becomes a rumor. Once a figure turns into rumor, people can easily paint him with the worst fears they carry. And so Hades, a strict king, becomes a devil, even though in the core of Greek myth he is far less impulsive than many other gods. And then there is one story that makes the entire kingdom of darkness pulse with a different rhythm. The story that stamps Hades into memory with the strongest emotion of all, Persephone. She is the daughter of Demeter, goddess of harvest, green fields, life, wheat that waves like a sea, and the smell of damp soil after rain. Persephone is spring in human form, laughter that makes flowers bloom. And one day, as she gathers blossoms, the earth splits open. A black chariot rises like a cut across the skin of the world. Hades appears, no thunder, only silence heavy as stone. And he carries her down. In many versions, it is an abduction. In other tellings, it is an agreement approved by Zeus, a political marriage meant to balance power between realms. Either way, the outcome is the same. Demeter goes mad with grief. The goddess of harvest abandons the world. Trees bear no fruit. Wheat will not grow. The land cracks and dries. Humans starve. Prayers rise to Olympus. The living world begins to die. And in that moment, we see a great paradox. Hades cannot keep Persephone without collapsing the world above. A king of death suddenly becomes the hinge of life itself. Because if the harvest dies, the souls pouring into his realm will be endless, and order will turn into chaos. At last, a bargain is set. Persephone will return to her mother for part of the year, and remain with Hades for the rest. But before she leaves, she eats the seeds of a pomegranate from the underworld. A small detail, yet like a thin chain nothing can sever. Those seeds are not just food, they are an oath. A mark that Persephone has touched the essence of the world below. Once you belong to it, you can never again be entirely of the world above. And so the seasons are born. When Persephone rises, Demeter rejoices. The land turns green again, spring and summer blaze. When Persephone descends, Demeter aches. The harvest fades, autumn grows dim, and winter turns cruel. This is one of the ways Greek myth performs its quiet miracle. It transforms a natural phenomenon into a family tragedy, turns the cycle of time into a story of loss and reunion. But if we look deeper, that same story reshapes Hades from kidnapper into husband and king, giving him something he never truly had before, a real bond. Yet that bond only sharpens his loneliness. Persephone does not stay completely. Hades' kingdom, even with its throne, still lacks light, lacks life, lacks laughter that lasts. He has a wife, but not a whole family. He has power, but no community. He has laws, but no festivals. And all of it creates the image of a king like stone, strong, steady, unmovable, yet cold, and always alone. We often think loneliness means having no one beside you. But the deepest loneliness is having a role no one wants to share, a responsibility no one thanks you for, a presence others remember only when they are afraid. Hades embodies that. While other gods may quarrel, fall in love, and then laugh it off, Hades is locked inside the severity of the final rule. You cannot try out being king of the dead. You cannot take a vacation from death. You cannot forget your duty when every last breath of humanity ultimately reaches your gate. And here is where we step into interpretation. Why did the Greeks create a god like Hades, only to push him into the shadows of imagination? Perhaps because they needed a figure to speak about what they could not control. Zeus represents political power. Poseidon represents the unpredictable forces of nature. But Hades represents the absolute truth. Everything ends. And humans in every age react to that truth with a primal instinct. We fear it. We avoid it. We demonize it so we can feel we are defeating an enemy. Modern psychology has an idea that humans build stories to negotiate with fear. Hades may be the greatest story of that negotiation. Notice how modern pop culture often paints Hades. In films and animation, he is frequently turned into a loud, scheming, hot-tempered villain, as if he must look like a demon for audiences to understand him. But that is simplification. Ancient myth did not need Hades to be loud. He is terrifying because he is silent. He does not seduce you, does not need to persuade you. Time will do that work. The most frightening thing about death is not that it screams, but that it is always there, patient, certain, and fair in a cold way. Yet that cold fairness carries a strange human side. In many stories, Hades is not the breaker of law. He is the keeper of law. When Orpheus descends into the underworld to seek Eurydice, Hades does not beat him, does not unleash Cerberus to tear him apart for daring to trespass. He listens to the liar, and he grants a chance. Hades' condition is not a cruel prank, but a test of trust and endurance. Walk upward and do not look back. Orpheus fails because fear and doubt win, and that tragedy says more about humanity than about Hades. In that moment, Hades is like fate itself. Fate does not hate you, but fate does not favor you either. It simply lays down the rule. Symbolically, Hades represents the below of the world, and also the below inside each human being. We all have an Olympus in the mind, where we want to shine, be admired, be loved. But we also have an underworld, where we bury bad memories, shame, grief, and the things we do not want anyone to see. Hades is king of that territory. And because we do not want to look at our own darkness, we do not want to look at Hades. So he becomes a symbol of what is pushed aside, forgotten, and misunderstood. This brings to mind a very modern image: the people who work in the backstage systems of society, those who handle crises, those who work in morgues, those who care for the dying, those who untangle tragedies, those who stand between order and chaos. They are rarely celebrated like heroes. They are often met with avoidance, sometimes even fear. But without them, society collapses. Hades, on the mythic level, becomes the ultimate symbol of those who keep order for what everyone would rather avoid. A king of the heaviest work, and therefore the loneliest. Even the story of Persephone, if we strip away the romantic gloss or the violence, can be read as an allegory of reconciliation between life and death. Persephone is both spring and queen of the dead. She is a tender shoot and a dark red pomegranate seed. She proves the two worlds are not fully separate. Life always carries death within it, and death becomes the ground on which life continues. The Greeks did not say this through a philosophy lecture. They said it through a story that hurts you in the heart. A mother losing her child, a husband keeping his wife, and a girl split in two by fate. And if Hades is the loneliest, that loneliness is not only because he lives underground, it is also because he carries a role no one wants, yet everyone needs. Zeus can change his mind, Poseidon can rage and then calm, other gods can be wrong and still be forgiven. But Hades is not allowed to be wrong. If the order of death collapses, the order of the universe collapses. You can love a cheerful God. You can forgive an impulsive God. But it is hard to embrace a God of endings. And so Hades becomes a king who is never permitted intimacy. His throne is like a chair placed in a room no one enters unless forced. There is another paradox. By modern ethical standards, Hades could be the least sinful god compared to the endless scandals of Olympus. Yet, he is the one most often cast as guilty in popular imagination. Why? Because human morality is often driven by feeling, and the strongest feeling tied to death is fear. When we are afraid, we need someone to blame. We need a face for the darkness. Hades receives that face. It is a familiar mechanism in society. Whatever unsettles us, we turn into the villain so we can feel we still stand on the side of light. But if we dare to look differently, Hades is not the enemy of life. He is its boundary. And boundaries, however painful, are what give human life meaning. Without an ending, nothing would truly be precious. Every meeting would last forever, and therefore become cheap. Every promise would not need to be kept. because there would always be more time. Every moment would stop being a moment and turn into an endless, meaningless chain. Death, terrifying as it is, makes love urgent, makes courage necessary, makes kindness valuable. In that sense, Hades holds the key to meaning, even if that key is cold and heavy. So where is Hades loneliest of all? Perhaps in the fact that he understands humans more than any other god, yet can never live among them. Every soul that descends carries a story. Hades sees everything: lies, regret, sacrifice, greed, love, and the late tears people cry when it is already too late. He witnesses the naked truth of humanity when nothing remains to hide behind. But he cannot become their friend. He cannot comfort each one. He can only place them where they belong. A king with deep knowledge of human tragedy, forced to keep an absolute distance. That is a loneliness you cannot even complain about, because complaint is useless. And perhaps that is why Hades still lives in the modern imagination. Not only because we enjoy dark stories, but because in today's world, where everyone tries to look happy, tries to build their own Olympus on social media, we feel an even stronger need to face the underworld inside ourselves. We need a symbol that reminds us there are parts of life you cannot repaint. Loss is real. Endings are real. And growing up is sometimes learning how to step through the underworld gate within, stare directly at what hurts, and then return to life more honestly. If you are waiting for one last twist, here is the twist Greek myth planted thousands of years ago. Hades may be the loneliest king, but he is not abandoned. He is the foundation. He is the deep stone layer that keeps the palace of the world from collapsing. People may not praise a foundation, but without it, everything falls. Seen that way, Hades is no longer a demon in the dark. He becomes a tragic, monumental figure, a king given the heaviest share, receiving the least gratitude, misunderstood the most, yet still sitting there, unmoving, keeping order for what no one wants to look at, so the world above can keep blooming. So if you ask whether Hades is terrifying or pitiable, perhaps the truest answer is, he is worthy of respect. Not respect for glory, but respect for burden. And perhaps, in some intensely private moment, when you stand alone before a loss, when you realize there are things you cannot save, cannot hold, cannot keep, you will understand why the Greeks needed a king like Hades. Not to frighten children, but to remind adults that endings are part of order, and that order, however cold, keeps life from becoming madness. And now, as the story closes, return to the first image. A throne in the belly of the earth, a kingdom of black rivers and gates that shut behind you. On that throne, Hades still sits. Not because he does not want to walk into the light, but because he cannot. Not because he hates humanity, but because he understands humanity. He is the ending everyone fears, and also the ending that makes every journey above meaningful. A king who needs no victory to be called great, only the ability to exist in his role, in silence. And that is the most tragic grandeur of all. Hades, the loneliest lord of the Greek underworld, holding the key to what no one wants to accept, yet no one can escape.